What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and today we're going to be doing another Among Us video. So a few weeks ago I did a video on how to be a better imposter in Among Us and gave you some really cool tips on how you can play as imposter and win more games in Among Us. So today we're going to do the reverse, the complete inverse of that idea, and we're going to be doing how to win as a crew member in Among Us. So I'm going to be going over some general tips, some tips on how to avoid getting eliminated or to improve your survival chances, and also how to wean out the imposter and catch them every single time. Without further ado, let's jump into the tips. So there's three main different ways that we can actually win as the crew in Among Us. The first one is the task win, which basically means everyone, including ghosts, aka the players who the imposters have already killed, need to finish all of their tasks in a routine before the imposters do win. Once everyone completes their tasks before the imposters win, then the crew will win. Then there's also the vote win. This is really straightforward. Basically, you can win in this way if you vote off all of the remaining imposter players before they can kill all of the players or win themselves. This is a little bit more tricky because you have to play as a team and you have to figure out who the imposters actually are. And the final way of winning as the crew is a disconnection win, which basically is when the final imposters members leave or disconnect from the game, which make the crew win. Sometimes people just disconnect from the match, and also sometimes people just rage quit when they get called out instead of actually trying to prevent getting kicked off. So let's jump onto some basic tips. So the first one is try to stay away from suspicious people, but not only that, also stay away from people who are suspicious of you, because the idea of being a winner as a crewmate is not just to vote off or find all the imposters, it's also to prevent you from getting voted off when people get suspicious of you, because a lot of people who are innocent in Among Us get voted off because they follow people who get suspicious of them, or they just act in a weird way. So make sure to avoid people who are suspicious of you and stay away from people who have already been called out because you may get killed. Also, one big no-no which I found out from playing the game a lot, especially when I played with my friend, is don't call emergency meetings with no reason or just out of suspicion with no additional proof, because most of the time you do this, if people don't just skip the meeting, they might even kick you off for being suspicious too. Now remember, if an imposter eliminates you, you still need to do all of your tasks as a ghost, like I mentioned before, to help your team win. So don't just leave the game or go AFK, make sure to finish all your tasks if you want the crew to win. If you're close to a body or kill site from an imposter, they may also try to frame you, so you may want to think twice about instantly reporting it, or you may want to rethink your positioning. Especially if you're in a room with two other people, or you walk into a room with only two people, it's possible that one of them might get killed and then you might get framed for it if they jump into the vent. Run to sabotagers and make sure that you fix them as quickly as possible to resume progress in the game. Sabotagers are meant for imposters to use to delay the game and make it so they can take more people out to prevent the crewmates from winning, so you need to go and resolve the sabotagers as soon as possible. Visual tasks are best to save till last until the end of the game to prove that you're innocent. Remember, visual tasks have a visual cue when they're completed, so people can tell if you're faking or not when you're standing right next to them. And don't call anyone and everyone out. You can back someone up if they call someone out that you're suspicious of too, but you may look suspicious if you're jumpy to call out everyone and anyone who you think could be an imposter. Usually this just ends up with you getting kicked from the game instead of the person who's actually not innocent. So the next set of tips is how to avoid getting eliminated and to improve your general survival chances in the game. So the first one is try to stay with a group of 2 or more. This can be hard, but it makes it less likely that you'll get slayed, unless you're really unfortunate and end up walking with 2 of the imposters who are grouped up already. If someone is proven to not be an imposter, or if they voted someone off who was an imposter, then you could also stick with them and try to team up with them to be safe, because they're confirmed as being innocent, so there's not really going to be any danger if you stick close to them. If an accused player isn't voted off and people skip the round because of a lack of evidence, or because people just aren't sure, make sure to avoid them at all costs next round, because if they are an imposter, they could also kill you. When someone is spotted killing or venting, rush to call an emergency meeting to report it as soon as possible. When I played as imposter, people who saw me vent usually ran to call an emergency meeting, and then I just hop vent and kill them before they could do so. This is a big risk when you're trying to run away from someone who vented. They might jump out in front of you or catch you out before you can call a meeting, but once you see it, you're gonna have to make sure everyone knows that it happened. When someone is following you, try to shake them or run in circles if you can't lose them, because if you're sure that they're following you and they're acting suspicious, then this may be a good reason to call a meeting. So let's jump onto the last section of tips in the video. So this section is going to be covering a few tips centered around catching the imposter, a few ways that you can figure out who the imposter is and how to catch them in their tracks when you're playing. So the first one is, if a player reports multiple bodies, they could be the imposter self-reporting. This is why you see a lot in the chat when someone reports a dead body, self-report, which basically just means the person who killed the player then reports the body straight after to try and look like they've stumbled upon it and found it themselves. If a player keeps reporting multiple bodies and happens to always be there at the right time, then they could just be the imposter reporting the bodies after they kill them. When an innocent is voted off, try to remember who accused them. They could be the real imposter who's trying to frame them or just vote people off. Now this isn't always the case, because I've actually voted off or accused a lot of innocent players before and then I've got kicked off, so you need to be careful and try and read into the players' messages and see if they're actually really innocent. Try to get background information on where someone is when they're accused instead of just blindly voting them off. Voting people off can be good, especially if you're not the one getting voted off, but if you just keep voting off innocent crew members, you're only making it easier for the imposters to actually win the game. So don't just blindly follow the herd, try and actually ask questions before kicking people out of the game. And don't believe everyone unless they give information or proof on why you should vote someone off or why they're innocent. When an obvious imposter is voted off and someone skips the vote, such as only one person, then they may actually be the second imposter who's not voting for their teammate to get kicked. This is a subtle little hint that they could actually be the last remaining imposter. This isn't always the case because some people might not be sure and might not want to vote to kick someone, but usually if it's just one person who doesn't choose to kick someone off who's obviously not innocent, then it's likely that they're the last remaining teammate of theirs. Look out for not just loudmouths, but also people who are completely silent in the chat. The shy ones are usually the imposters that nobody suspects. This is actually a really big strategy that me and my friend use when we're playing as imposter. We usually keep super quiet and nobody figures out that it's us because we just don't type in the chat. Remember what I said before about accusing anyone and everyone or just spamming in the chat making you look guilty? Well, it works both ways. Usually this is a good strategy to keep silent and just silently take everyone out as imposter. So if there's someone who keeps avoiding all of the kicks and who hasn't typed much, then it may be a good idea to stay away from them or ask questions on why they're so quiet. And going over what we mentioned earlier a little bit, watch out for those visual tasks. Imposters can't fake doing these. Obviously imposters can't actually do tasks because that's the thing that the crew members do, but they'll usually try and fake doing the tasks by standing next to them. But the ones that they can't fake are the visual tasks, because when they're completed they have some kind of animation or visual cue that says when they've been done. Obviously, since the imposters can't actually use these or complete them, then this effect won't play when they've been finished. So if they do non-visual tasks super fast, this is also something to be suspicious of, but watch out for those visual tasks that they stand next to and nothing happens. Usually this means that they're an imposter and not just because they're AFK or doing the task. And that concludes this video for how to win as a crewmate in Among Us. Some of these are common sense and some of them are some interesting tips for you to take on when you're playing the game. If you have any more useful tips as a crewmate in the comment section below, drop those tips down there so we can take a look and use them ourselves, and make sure to subscribe for more Minecraft and Among Us videos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.